Hey guys, welcome back to Reddit. In this episode, I'm going to tackle more r/relationship stories. I got a good one. It's a nice long one for you. I'm also going to be building the house in Minecraft. I don't have a clear picture of what I want to do yet, so please be nice to me. I'm not the best builder. So I, 34 female, feel unattractive to my husband, who's a 41 male of 5 years, who has a low drive. I, 34, have been happily married to my husband, 41 male, for 5 years. We've got 3 kids. Together we've made a family and help each other's dreams come true, both life goals and careers. We lead a generally charmed life, but like all relationships, none is completely perfect. We have different love languages, words of affirmation, which are mine, and acts of service, his. For the most part, we overcome this by making a little extra effort to speak each other's love language. I do some of his chores during the week. He occasionally pays me a compliment, maybe 3 times a week. However, the trouble started when we had our 3rd kid. We didn't have passion for 9 months. When I brought it up, he was shocked. He could hardly believe it had been that long, but when I looked back, he could see it was true. We've had passion once after this conversation, and then nothing again for a few months. About 6 months after our baby was born, I started to feel really down about the way I looked. I hadn't lost any of my pregnancy weight, about 1 kilogram over, but still totally within the normal BMI range. I felt fat and flabby and saggy. I tried to mask over this insecurity by just ignoring it for a while, as I'm generally bubbly and confident, but the lack of passion made me seriously doubt whether my husband was even still into me. Google didn't help. All I could find were either stories of men who wanted more passion than their wife. I wish. Or people telling women their husband didn't want them anymore. All of this is complicated by the fact that I can't be the only one to initiate passion, as this can turn him off. I also didn't want to pressure him into passion, so I just for the most part tried to make myself as attractive as possible and wait for him to notice. It all came to a head one night when I burst into tears and confessed all my struggles to him. He was very sympathetic and also worried because of course he wants me to be happy. He just explained that he has a low drive, nothing to do with me, and that as far as he's concerned, he'd happily never have passion again in his life. Not that he didn't enjoy it or anything, but he could live without passion no problem. He realized as a result of this conversation that I didn't feel the same way, and he'd make an effort to initiate passion more often. Since then, things have improved a lot. We've had passion 1 to 2 times a month now, and we both enjoy it tremendously, but I feel like I want more passion. And I still feel unattractive. Past partners couldn't get enough of me. They were always telling me how passionate I was. Always telling me how good looking I was. Kissed me every day. Looked at me like they wanted me. I've always been treated like a passion goddess. He rarely even looks at me. Oh, that's a little rough. I'm only 34. I feel too young to be shelved like this. Frankly, I don't know if I ever want to be shelved. Shelved is a very crude word. I don't think I've actually heard that before. But definitely not in my 30s. I'm frustrated that I can't talk myself out of this feeling this way, no matter how much I try. I'm happily married. I'm off the market. I should care whether or not I am attractive. It should be enough to know that my husband finds me attractive even though he never says so and only has passion 1 to 2 times a month. This should be enough, and it's already 10 times more than before, but I can't stop my feelings. I miss passion. I hate what I see in the mirror almost every day, and I never used to be like that. I want to feel like a goddess again. Any advice? Any way to make myself feel better without asking my husband to change? Yeah, this is a rough one to think about. I imagine you guys had a conversation and he was, better. Did you mention? Yeah, you guys were fine before the 3 kids. It's hard to tell if he's had this the whole time you guys have been together and he's just kind of buried it down, or if this is, a new development due to some reason. I'd be interested to see what happens because there is an update. But first, I'm going to read a couple of the comments. First comment's from it's from a deleted account, as this was 7 years ago. As far as he's concerned, he'd be happy never having passion again in his life. Oof, this is a really tough one, OP. It clearly isn't about you, and he means it when he says it's his drive. 1 or 2 times a month is already a compromise on his end, and if you want to be treated like a passion goddess, it's very obvious he's not the person who's going to do it. And And then he's quoting again, "I am happily married. I am off the market. I shouldn't care whether or not I am attractive. Honey, these desires don't just spontaneously die because you have a ring on your finger. You're allowed to want to feel attractive and desired. That's a basic human want, and people of all ages and relationship statuses crave it." I think this is a moment for both couples counseling and individual therapy for you. Perhaps you can find a way for your husband to make you feel desired, but you need to help him understand how crucial it is to you, because it's not something he craves. It might be hard for him to understand just how fundamental of a need it is for you, and imagine him working harder on words or of affirmation would help. But I think you can brainstorm together about what would fulfill that need for you. You might even discuss opening the relationship just for passion, if that's something neither of you is completely uncomfortable with. I'm sorry for your situation. It truly sounds difficult, and I hope you guys can find a happy medium. OP replied, "I've had open relationships in the past, but I knew it was not for my husband even before we were married. I think even if he was open, I still would want to feel attractive to my husband first and foremost. But if we can solve that aspect first, it might be a way to fill the gap in drive depending on how my husband feels about it. Food of thought, thank you." Another commenter replied, "Passion drive waxes and wanes for both men and women. There's lots of different factors. Research actually shows tested men goes down with children, so that the life factors may be at play. Regardless of drive issues, the bigger issue is your husband not wanting to give you what you need. Say it louder. Say it louder." At the OBGYN clinic we saw a lot of women come in for low drive. They were all willing to do behavioral, even pharmaceutical things to raise their drive because they felt passion intimacy was important to their partner. Some of the tips that we gave were there is no magic bullet. The more intimacy you practice, the more you want it. It's unfortunate that you initiating turns him off. Scheduling a weekly passion date, holding hands, kissing more, flirting more, all contribute. Also consider him having self-passion more on his own can increase libido. Also, with the kids, you may need to find time when you have adequate privacy. I'm not familiar with the medical things for men's drive, but there is testosterone gels for women, so I'm assuming there might be something similar for men. Also, if he's on any medications, a lot of them affect drive. There's always hope. There are great healthcare professionals and therapists who deal with this a lot, and a lot out there if you can find the right people. Damn right. Couldn't have said it better myself. On to the update. I posted last summer. I felt so unattractive and undesirable. I wanted to have passion more often, but he was happy to never have passion again. Aside from how that would affect me, I wanted to feel like a passion goddess again. Reddit advised me to all kinds of things, from checking tests, therapy, and even that there was no hope that if I wanted to feel like a goddess again, I'd have to leave him. Well, I feel like a goddess again, everyone. Well, what happened? I decided to go to individual therapy and focus on myself, work on myself. My physical self-image was a symptom of a larger problem. Troubles at work, troubles at home, a storm inside. During counseling, I opened the door to a cellar where I had been keeping my true self locked in the dark, ashamed of her. I was bullied as a kid. I had no idea I had accumulated so much self-loathing since then. Releasing that was amazing and so freeing. And so, by the time I said goodbye to my counselor, I was strong and more self-assured. I realized I had been sacrificing so much of myself for the sake of others, especially the important men in my life. My husband, my boss, my father, my manager. I was constantly seeking approval, trying to please them. My relationships had gotten completely out of balance. Things started to get complicated. I developed a crush. I developed a crush on a colleague, and because I'm demisexual, my attraction to my husband started to diminish. The more time passed, the more I felt like I just couldn't care anymore what he thought of me. Google, what is demisexual person feels sexual attraction only after forming a strong emotional bond with someone, placing them on an asexual spectrum. Okay, it focuses on the nature of it, not just man like woman. Okay, so she formed an emotional bond with her coworker, and then it figured, oh no. At a low point, I said to my husband, you always keep your thoughts to yourself. I used to find it mysterious and interesting, like a puzzle I could unwrap. But now I realize there's actually no mystery to unravel. There's just nothing, and the silence is boring. It was hurtful and unkind. I'm not proud of it. Something changed after that, both for him and for me. Over the course of the next few months, I gave less and I took more. I went to conferences. I left my kids with my husband. I took time off work. I stopped making up for the mistakes of my superiors at work and let them deal with the consequences of their actions. I felt like I was coming home to my true self, my no-nonsense kick-ass self. One night, my husband and I were watching Alien, and he confessed that ever since he'd seen the original as a boy, he really liked Ripley. She was the kind of woman he had wanted to marry, and so he married me. You should have seen my face. My tears wouldn't stop. I felt like he had finally told me what I needed to hear the most. I got rid of the attraction for my colleague. It's actually not that hard as a demi. I just focused on everything I didn't like about them, and within a week or two, my crush was completely gone. I found them a total turn-off now. I mean, it must be nice to just change that. I can't say I've ever experienced that kind of thing, but if it works, it works. You're back to your husband where you should have been. I know he wasn't giving you the response you need, but if you're gonna pursue something else or think about pursuing something else, you gotta cut the cord. It's the proper way to do it. It's the fair thing to do. If you're married, you're there through thick and thin. If it doesn't work out, you divorce. Then you can start exploring other options. Do you remember I mentioned I wasn't able to initiate passion? That's because it was a huge turnoff for my husband. One evening we discussed why, and you know what? He felt too much pressure if I initiated, because he thought he'd have to perform. Once he realized that he can safely turn me down if he's not in the mood, and also that it's okay for us to kiss and cuddle without it leading to something more, he's been okay with me initiating. You'd think you wouldn't get to the age of 40 without having figured that out, but hey, I guess people never cease to throw surprises, right? Our passion life has improved a lot. I no longer need his praise to soothe my self-loathing, so I was less needy about it. He initiated a bit more often, but more importantly, with greater enthusiasm and quality. He chooses what I wear sometimes, and I feel so beautiful when he looks at me. I'm the only being that matters, and he compliments me. We even got into a bit light DS, which has spiced things up a lot. Oh, Dom and sub. Even though I'd fallen out of love with him for a while, I've fallen back in love with my husband stronger and harder than ever. Harder. I couldn't be happier. I love myself and I love him so much. He's just the best partner I could ever wish for. Now for our second story. My 30 female husband, 32 male, impulse bought a dog. I can't wait to see how this goes. It's just a dog. Together 6 years, married for 3. We so far have very rarely had communication issues. Before we got married, we went to a counselor who helped us a lot. Not because we were having issues, but to make sure we were going to be able to avoid these issues. Both of us are child free and have been talking about getting a dog. I grew up with them, but we travel a lot, so having one has not really been in the cards. He recently took a job where we won't be able to do as much traveling for about a year. Recently, he's been very excited because he feels he deserves a dog. He works away from home and I work at home. Like I said, I grew up with dogs. I do miss having one, but there are dogs who do great with an out lifestyle and dogs who wouldn't. We agreed on getting a trainer if we have any issues we can't fix on our own. I'm very health conscious, which extends to dogs. There are certain breeds I would never own because they have so many health issues. The other day, he came home with a bulldog puppy. This is a breed on my absolute not list. He's about 6 months old and he got him from a family who couldn't keep him. He's already having breathing issues. He snores all day and all night. He will need soft palate surgery and he will need his nostrils enlarged. He can't run. He will need patella surgery. And like I said, he's only 6 months old. Yeah, bulldogs are one of those breeds where they're just like bred into borderline extinction, where all the genetic faults are just kept. Same with like a pug. It's just cruel. I'm so frustrated. We've had the dog for about 4 weeks and he doesn't want to walk the dog much. He won't clean up after it. All he wants to do is take him to the dog park and pet store. He loves when people gush over how cute he is when he snorts. The dog, not my husband. We had a very big argument over the dog. He wants to let it sleep in the bed with us, but I told him I would be sleeping in another room. He doesn't care, and the dog has been sleeping in our bed for the past few nights, and I've been in the guest room. During the day, he is quiet. He's a good puppy for sure. He doesn't destroy toys, and he's happy to clamp to sleep next to me all day while I work. The snoring doesn't bother me as much, but knowing he snores because he has that much trouble breathing makes me feel so bad. But I'm so upset with my husband for getting a dog with so many health issues. I do not know how to address the situation without letting my temper get away from me. The first comment says he feels he deserves a dog. A dog is not a nice treat you buy yourself as a reward for sticking to a diet or getting through a stressful time. It's a whole other being that has its own needs and preferences, who is now relying on you forever. The dog deserves to have an owner with a better attitude. Here's an update to this. Thank you all for the responses. I read every comment you guys said. A few months ago, I read a post where a woman sat down with her husband and outlined everything she takes care of at home in a list format, like kitchen, trash, dishes, counter, etc. That way of communicating really stuck with me, and when we went to see her therapist, I used the same format to express how much I do for the dog. My husband told me that owning a dog was a joint effort, and since I'm not home all day, it shouldn't be a problem. Which is when I realized that it'd been an excuse for everything: cooking, chores, cleaning. I'm not sure how I became blind to it. I don't even know when I started bending over backwards to accommodate him. We used to be a solid couple who helped each other out. I remember when I was still in school, he'd come over to my apartment and clean the whole thing for me during finals, or he took care of my elderly cat when I was away for a week and a half. He used to help me dry the dishes, and it was always fun. We used to have so much fun and laugh all the time. At some point, it just kind of stopped. I started crying right there in the middle of a sentence, and he got concerned. I'm not a crier. The only time he's ever seen me cry was when I had to put my beloved cat down. Oh no. A few years ago. But he held me for the first time in what felt like months, and we had a serious heart-to-heart about how he made me feel. Not only with the dog, but how stressed I've been with my job, how lonely I am, I don't feel important, and how we don't feel like the same team anymore, that I'm worried about us. I guess it clicked for him because he really stepped up taking care of the dog. He started going to work early so he can come home early and hang out and make dinner. It happened slowly over the course of the last few weeks, and the routine suits us a lot better. We hired a trainer to make sure we can understand the dog's boundaries together, and the dog sleeps in a dog bed. Our bedroom life has slowly gone back to where it was when we got married. We're watching our favorite shows again and going out more. I've been putting my foot down more about my feelings, and he's been receptive. We're going to therapy for now. As for the dog, we're going to keep him. Is he on the no dog list? Yes. But he's a good puppy with a big heart? Yes. We have the money to afford him, and he took off after training. It's nice having a dog again. Well, that's it for today. If you did enjoy the video, please consider subscribing. I am really having fun making these videos. I'll post the next one tomorrow. All right, bye-bye. Bye-bye.